This is Ibrahima MAIGA. I personally view him as a disgusting person, but if you are our Black American or FBA brothers and sisters, feel free to call him an African tether. Please, subscribe, share, and comment. Thank you. Ibrahima MAIGA is a citizen of Burkina Faso, but he resides in the United States. He is said to be on the social media, but does anyone know what he does for a living? I will come back to this later. Well, Ibrahima MAIGA is full of vitriol and hatred towards his fellow Black Africans, especially people of Togo, so much that he cannot even take care of his personal health. Just look at his fat face and bloated body. If you recall, people of Burkina Faso rose up just few years ago against the dictator Blaise Compaoré, who had ruled the country for 29 years, and they succeeded in ending his brutal regime. Unlike the Burkinabe, people of Togo have been fighting against the French imperialism and against the barbaric dictatorship of the Nassingbe family in Togo for 6 decades before the uprising in Burkina Faso 3 years ago. The Togolese have risen up many times to topple the Nassingbe's brutal and barbaric regime, but unsuccessful. This is due to the fact that the savage Nassingbe family regime in Togo is backed military by the French, the European Union, and the United States. Even on June 6, 2025, June 25, 26, 27, 2025, the Togolese rose up again to demand the resignation of Faure Nassingbe, the son of the late brutal dictator Ibrahima Nassingbe. As always, the militias and foreign mercenaries composed of Liberians and Sierra Leoneans of the brutal regime of Faure Nassingbe savagely repressed this latest protest march by the Togolese. 7 Togolese protesters were killed, hundreds gravely injured, and many were arrested. Ibrahima MAIGA, who has been known on the social media to be an adulator of the brutal dictator Faure Nassingbe of Togo, seized again an opportunity to criticize the Togolese for protesting against the barbaric regime of Faure Nassingbe. What is problematic about his criticism is the fact that he stated France instigated this protest in Togo. This statement of Ibrahima MAIGA is not only in total contradiction with the reality, but it was also an insult to the intelligence of Togolese. Most of the times, when Black individuals are in denial of realities, it means they benefits from denying them, or they are paid to deny to the detriment of the Black society. Meanwhile, I heard this lady, another citizen of Burkina Faso, ask the Togolese not to be angry at Ibrahima MAIGA, even though she said Ibrahima MAIGA was wrong for saying such thing.
Ibrahima MAIGA does not represent the authorities of the Burkina way. Ibrahima MAIGA does not represent the people of Burkina. Ibrahima MAIGA represents himself, as you have seen in the photos and images taken by our authorities. This does not mean that Ibrahima MAIGA is the spokesperson for our authorities. We must be very careful and make this distinction so that we can move forward. I'm going to ask you if someone dares to come out, to disrespect you, to speak as they please, to attack the person themselves.
Has any Togolese ever said anything negative about the uprising of people of Burkina Faso against the brutal regime of Blaise Compaoré 3 years ago? The answer is no. Some Togolese even volunteered by traveling to Burkina Faso's capital Ouagadougou and even to Mali and Niger to protest alongside the people of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. Upon their return to Togo, these Togolese volunteers were immediately arrested and jailed by the brutal dictator Faure Nassingbe. Until today, neither Presidents Ibrahim Traoré, Assimi Goïta, nor Abdourahmane Tiani, respectively of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, has made a statement to support these unfortunate Togolese volunteers who risk their lives to support the Burkina, Malian, and Nigerian revolution. If you remember, I said in one of my videos on here that Presidents Ibrahim Traoré, Assimi Goïta, and Abdourahmane Tiani respectively of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger have shamelessly become the adulators and supporters of the brutal dictator Faure Nassingbe of Togo because they said Faure Nassingbe gave their access to the Togo's port for free. Now that the people of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger got rid of the brutal dictators in their own countries, they have been adulating and tirelessly working with the Nassingbe family's savage regime in Togo against the Togolese. What an abomination! To say the least, this attitude or behavior is very hypocritical and wicked on the part of the people of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. Speaking again about this disgusting and fat man called Ibrahima MAIGA, he recently donated $10,000 to the Burkina Faso's army, as a thankful gesture towards this army for doing their daily job to protect his country Burkina Faso. It is laughable he is also trying hard to show everybody that he is doing financially well. Does anyone know or can anybody tell me what kind of job this Ibrahima MAIGA character does in the United States? As I was saying before, some black individuals often do unimaginable and heinous things against other black people because they gain something out of it or they are paid to do so. It is very likely that the amount of $10,000 this big fat Ibrahima MAIGA recently donated to the army of his country comes from the money the brutal dictator for Gnassingbé of Togo has been giving him for being his adulator and spokesperson on the social media. Please, help me answer this question. Is it okay that some Africans are still wicked towards other black Africans? Or, can Africa ever advance if some black Africans wish things they dislike or hate in their own country on other black Africans? Or Gnassingbé, the so-called president of Togo and probably the most brutal dictator in Africa right now. For Gnassingbé has even become an advisor to the so-called revolutionary leaders Assimi Goïta of Mali and Abdourahmane Tiani of Niger. For Gnassingbé seized power 20 years ago in a constitutional and bloody coup after the sudden death of his father, who was not just brutal but barbaric. For more than 60 years, the Gnassingbé family has taken Togo hostage, has been oppressing, depriving, and starving Togolese. As it reported, the so-called revolutionary leaders in Mali and Niger have suddenly become the adulators and admirers of For Gnassingbé because they have also been receiving millions if not billions of dollars of stolen money the Gnassingbé brutal regime has been giving out for almost 60 years to buy foreign support and to bribe high-ranking individuals, not to say anything about its several human rights violations. For the past 60 years, the brutal regime of the Gnassingbé family has also supported financially or enriched many politicians and individuals in West Africa, across Africa, and beyond in exchange for support. The Gnassingbé regime, from the father to the son, had been the participants in the major wars that have plagued the Africa continent for the past 60 years. Many international reports had underscored the involvement of the late Ibrahima Gnassingbé in bloody civil wars in Africa such as the Biafra War in Nigeria, the civil wars in Liberia, Sierra Leone, Angola, Central African Republic, Sudan, etc. The name of his son For Gnassingbé was also mentioned in the civil war in Ivory Coast that toppled the former president Laurent Gbagbo. Many credible analysts, with deep understanding of politics and its ramification in African countries, already said that the brutal dictator For Gnassingbé has been acting as an informant within the newly formed Sahel Bloc AES for his French and American masters. Like his late father, For Gnassingbé is unquestionably an incompetent and worthless president who has been wasting Togo's resources, drowning Togo in colossal debt. Worse, the Gnassingbé's brutal regime in Togo has been torturing, murdering, starving, and enslaving millions of native Togolese for the past 60 years.